God, she smelled good, pulling me in for that French friend double kiss. First right cheek, then left.
It's so nice to finally meet you.
You too. I let go of her hand. I brought some wine, handing her the Bordeaux. She turned the bottle, looked at the label.
Thank you. Please.
And taking my coat, she hung it on the large stand near the door. I pictured her differently when we talked on the phone. She'd said we didn't need masks since we'd both tested negative this week, but I'd brought one just in case.
You had no trouble finding me?
She turned her head back slightly as she led us through an open doorway to the right. No, you gave excellent directions.
Good.
And she made a gesture towards the couch. It was a big room, lived in and warm with a fire going. There were paintings and photos on the walls and several large bookcases all overfilled. I was glad she liked books. We could talk about books. She put my Bordeaux on the coffee table with the other food she'd laid out. Then she sat down on the couch.
I've already opened some wine.
Again pointing.
To breathe, but we can have yours later, if this is fine, yes?
Mais oui. My accent was horrible. And she smiled as she lifted her bottle of white. We had the proper introductions, of course. Each of us a friend of Suzanne, who thought that we should meet. You'll like her, our friend had said to me. The lovely Lisette. Yes, and I've already told her all about you. Poor thing. She's had a tough time of it as well. She'd added that last bit in quickly, like this commonality would seal the deal. Lisette was holding my glass at a slight angle as she poured. The lovely Lisette. And Suzanne had been right. A soft Mediterranean face framed by dark brown hair and long, loose curls past her shoulders, green eyes, dimples, with a smile she seemed to wear very often. I liked the way the light from the fire was reflecting golds now through her hair.
There's some cheese here and some...
She motioned too quickly, glass in hand.
Oh, no.
I grabbed a napkin from the table.
Oh, so stupid.
No, you're not. We were both dabbing at the table now and at the carpet in front.
Did I get your trousers?
Isn't that supposed to be good luck?
Is it?
Her face still tense. Sure. Looking at the back of my pant leg. Looks like just a drop or two of good luck.
I'm so sorry.
But Lizette's face was slowly less red.
I still must be nervous, I think.
Well, I lifted the bottle, topping off her glass. To our first thing in common, then. And I was glad when she smiled. Her wine was very good.
So,
Lisette set down her glass.
Suzanne told me you are a journalist?
She began cutting the round cheese into small wedges. Yes. I wondered just how much of my story she told her. And you translate novels.
Much less interesting than what you do.
Are you kidding? Suzanne said that you're doing the new French version of Stablelands.
Not his best work.
But still, it's Langley O'Connell.
You like him?
Oh, very much.
Well, I just hope you like this camembert as much as you do our late Mr. O'Connell.
She handed me the small plate she'd made, the cheese now riding a thin wedge of baguette next to a rolled piece of prosciutto, with a few slices of green apple surrounding. All the colors looked very nice together.
So tell me, Carlo.
Now making her own plate.
Why would you leave a sunny California to come here to Paris in the middle of winter?
I nodded, already bringing the bread and cheese to my mouth, a hurried chew to my pat answer. But, oh my God, pointing down, mouth still full of that first creamy, sharp tang mixing into the crunchy, soft fresh of the bread.
Try it with the apple.
She seemed pleased.
The tartness goes well.
And I did, nodding, agreeing, then blending it all down with more wine. That's fantastic.
Now have the prosciutto.
She held up her own piece.
My friend was able to bring this from Bologna. It's very good. One of my favorite things.
And she took her own advice as I did too. And once again, our smiling, nodding chews of so delicious, up and down with happy mms from both our mouths. Another thing we have in common.
Suzanne also said you've been working in the Middle East.
Here we go. Yes, off and on since 2007, mostly for Reuters, but I did a lot of freelance stuff too.
And you were injured in Afghanistan?
Yeah, forgot to duck. She nodded too gravely, so I figured Suzanne must have told her the whole story.
But it was very serious, no? I was told you were in hospital for almost 5 months.
Pretty bad. A flash of Tim's body, the blood on his camera, that poor Marine screaming, flooding guilt forever fault. Would you like to see my scars? I half stood, hands at my belt, and thankfully it had the right effect. I liked her laughing. No, and took advantage of the change. So tell me more about this O'Connell translation you're doing. I gestured quickly towards the food.
Of course.
Smiling, she took my plate.
But my job is so boring to talk about.
I doubt that. And I watched as she spread more of the camembert onto new pieces of baguette, adding a few more slices of apple and other rolled prosciutto.
Well, there's a lot of research, and my editor wants an entirely new interpretation. So I was in Los Angeles for over 2 months in Long Beach at his old university, going through his papers and notes and the original manuscript. I even got to interview his daughter.
Oh, what's she like?
Very nice, very smart. Evelyn, she's an English professor at Amherst, the expert on her father's work.
I'd imagine.
Funny enough, though, she also married a novelist.
Ah, daddy issues. She laughed again.
No, I don't think so. Trey Amoruso, do you know his work?
The Last Frightened Face?
That's him.
You know, I read it, but honestly, I don't remember if I liked it or not.
No, his first 3 novels were much better.
She sipped a little wine.
You must like reading.
I do. And you too. I motioned towards her bookcases.
Very much.
You know, I actually wanted to be a novelist.
Did you?
I nodded. But it's hard to do when you suck.
Come on, I'm sure you write well.
Reporting, yes. Facts are usually easier. But I think I'm lacking that creative gene.
Many of us do. I also tried to be a novelist once. I even did my MFA at Cornell.
Really?
My high point came when I got a short story published in the Paris Review.
That's big.
Yes, but I never could get any further. I tried to write a novel, but I would start on an idea and then stop and overthink. Then I'd start again until...
She made a defeated sound and face. I know the feeling.
But then I got my first work translating from one of my professors, and it continued to another, and before long, this is what I did.
I nodded. Life's like that, isn't it? Mostly giving us reflections of the whole picture we'd once seen for ourselves.
Or refractions.
Yes, I like that better. And I held up my glass. To the bending of light, then.
To the bending.
And she looked lovely bending light.
So...
She leaned in, gently touched my knee.
You never really answered my first question.
Which one?
Why you left a sunny California for a cold Paris winter?
To finally see Tim's wife. To tell her it was my fault. How I'd talked him into coming, needed photos for the story. Well, Lizette waited, sipped her wine. I had some business first, but I've also got a lot of good memories here, and it's such a beautiful place. Even in winter, she smiled too. And there's always been something about Paris that makes me feel... It's like there's this continuous reminder here everywhere you go that beauty is necessary, you know? And I figure if we can create a place this beautiful, well, then we're probably going to be all right.
You're a romantic.
Still smiling. Maybe.
When was your last visit?
Oh, it's been a while. 2011, I think.
That long?
Yeah.
Too long.
I agreed.
And how long will you stay?
I'm not sure. One of my editors wants me to go from here to Ukraine in case it goes hot, but I'm not sure if I... Well, Lizette was nodding thoughtfully now, putting 2 and 2 together.
Do you think Russia will really invade?
I shrugged. I don't think so. There's just too much for them to lose.
For everyone to lose.
Yes, but with Putin, she was looking down now, more through than at the table.
There's just been so much death already these past years.
And we both stayed silent a moment longer than seemed appropriate for such a casual first meeting. But then her face quickly changed into a small, almost embarrassed smile.
Will you excuse me a moment? I'm just going to check on my daughter.
Of course. And I stood as she walked around the couch and through the door behind us. I finished the wine left in my glass, refilled, thinking even more now of what Suzanne had finally told me about Lizette. Her son, she'd said, and only 9. I walked over to the balcony doors on the other side of the room. Outside, the clouds were still covering up the whole city, the moon just a hint of light coming through them. In the distance, I could see the Eiffel Tower lit golden white there in the dark, and somewhere just beyond was the river. I was glad that I had come. Walking back to the couch, I set my wine down and took another piece of prosciutto. I could just hear Lisette speaking, then a child, and not wanting to eavesdrop, I got up and went to look at her books. We had similar tastes, but her library was huge, multilingual, and I wondered how many languages she spoke. I saw a light blue hardback copy of Ulysses and pulled it out. All her penciled notes. I never could get through it, no matter how.
Are you hungry?
I turned to her voice. She was standing in the doorway. Perpetually.
Good.
And again she disappeared. I put the joist back and went over to the couch. In a few minutes, Lisette returned, holding the hand of a little girl that looked very much like her, around 5 or 6.
Carlo, this is my daughter Claire.
I took her hand and hammed it up.
Oh, enchanté, mademoiselle.
Deep, silly voice, gently overshaking tiny arm, bowing low.
C'est un grand plaisir, un vrai plaisir.
And finally, slowly, getting just the tiniest of smiles.
Il est drôle, maman.
Oui, poupée, elle est.
Lisette turned to me, looking happy.
I know this wasn't supposed to be a dinner, but Claire was lonely in her room and would like to eat some pho. Do you like Vietnamese food?
I do. Never had it.
Good. There's a fantastic place nearby that delivers. I'll call.
And first, grabbing a box of crayons and a pad from another table, Lisette handed them to the girl, kissed her cheek loudly, saying something, second kiss, then phone in hand, she walked into the kitchen. Right away, Claire knelt down and began coloring a new picture, quickly absorbed. After some time, I asked, Qu'est-ce que c'est? Pointing at her picture.
Tous ensemble, chez mémé.
Claire kept coloring the 4 stickish figures close together inside of a house. But there was another figure, a little bigger than the smallest one inside, who was winged and floating over near the sun. Je peux? I pointed at her crayons. Claire nodded, giving me a piece of paper from her pad. I knew how to draw just one thing well.
Claire's entertaining you, I see.
I felt Lisette sitting back down on the couch just as I was finishing my picture. Voila! I handed it to Claire.
Maman, c'est Mickey.
She went to show Lisette.
Oui, chérie, c'est très beau.
Lisette picked her up and sat her on her lap, and they spoke together quietly as I finished off my wine.
You know,
Lisette now turned to me.
this is the most I've seen her smile in a very long time.
Oh, that's because I slipped her a 20 when you were on the phone.
No, you didn't.
Arm outstretched, she touched my hand, leaving it a moment longer, as I finally noticed the word she had tattooed on her forearm. La seule manière de surmonter la mort est d'embrasser la vie encore plus fort. The only way to overcome death is to embrace life even harder. Yes, the tattoo looked new, and I think I surprised her when I took her hand in mine.